The stone corridor was silent except for the echo of his boots. Guard Thomas Brennan had worked at Kensington Palace for 3 years, and he'd learned one rule above all others: never repeat what you hear. The royals valued their privacy. They trusted the staff to be invisible, to blend into the wallpaper, to forget conversations the moment they ended. But some things cannot be unheard. It was a Tuesday evening in late autumn, the kind of night where fog crept through the palace gardens and the old windows rattled with wind. Thomas was stationed outside the private drawing room on the 2nd floor. His shift wouldn't end for another 2 hours. He heard the voices before he saw. Anyone sharp, tense, breaking. The door to the drawing room wasn't fully closed. A sliver of warm light cut across the dark hallway. Thomas kept his eyes forward, his posture straight. But his ears betrayed him. I can't keep pretending everything's fine. William. It was Kate. Her voice was steady, but there was something underneath it. Something fragile. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this story, hit that subscribe button. We share the most emotional and powerful true stories you won't find anywhere else. Now, back to what happened next. William's response came quieter, almost pleading. You knew what this life would be. You knew the pressures. We talked about this. We talked about duty, Kate said. We talked about service. But we never talked about losing ourselves. Thomas felt his chest tighten. He wasn't supposed to be hearing this. He glanced down the corridor, hoping another guard would arrive for rotation early. No one came. I need you to understand something, Kate continued. Her footsteps moved closer to the door. Thomas could see her shadow now, pacing back and forth. I've given everything to this role. I smile for the cameras. I wear the right clothes. I say the right things. But when I look in the mirror, I don't recognize the woman staring back. There was a long silence. Then William spoke, and his voice cracked in a way Thomas had never heard from any royal. Do you think it's easy for me? Do you think I chose this? No, Kate whispered. But I did. I chose you. And somewhere along the way, I forgot that you were supposed to choose me too. The weight of those words hung in the air like smoke. Thomas swallowed hard. His hands were sweating inside his white gloves. He wanted to move, to cough, to make some noise so they'd know someone was there. But he remained frozen. Kate, please. William's voice was closer now, near the door. Tell me what you need. Tell me how to fix this. I don't know if you can. The silence that followed was unbearable. Thomas could hear his own heartbeat pounding in his ears. He could hear the old radiator hissing in the corner. He could hear everything except the thing he wanted most, some sign that they would be okay. Then Kate spoke again, softer this time. There's something I need to tell you. Something I should have said weeks ago. Thomas held his breath. What happened next would change everything. Asterisk. The floorboards creaked as Kate moved across the room. Thomas heard the sound of fabric rustling, a chair being pulled. Then Kate's voice again, barely above a whisper. I've been having nightmares. William didn't respond immediately. The pause stretched so long that Thomas wondered if he'd heard her at all. What kind of nightmares? William finally asked. About disappearing, Kate said. About becoming so small that no one sees me anymore. Not as a person, just as a symbol, a photograph, a headline. Thomas felt something twist in his chest. He'd seen Kate hundreds of times, smiling at events, waving to crowds, graceful and poised. He'd never imagined she felt this way. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, Kate continued, and I can't remember who I was before all of this. Before the titles. Before the protocol. I try to think of simple things. My favorite song. The books I used to read. And it's like trying to remember a dream that's already fading. You're still you, William said, but his voice wavered. Am I? Kate's question cut through the air. When was the last time we had a conversation that wasn't scheduled? When was the last time we laughed without someone watching? When did we stop being William and Kate and become the Duke and Duchess? Another long silence. Thomas shifted his weight slightly. His leg was starting to cramp, but he didn't dare move too much. I remember the night we met, William said softly. You were wearing that see-through dress at the fashion show? For the first time, Thomas heard Kate laugh. It was small, almost sad, but it was real. I can't believe you remember that. I remember everything about that night, William said. I remember thinking you were the most genuine person I'd ever met. You didn't treat me like a prince. You treated me like a person. And now I'm terrified I've turned you into something you never wanted to be. The vulnerability in William's voice made Thomas's throat tight. These weren't just royals having an argument. These were two people trying to find their way back to each other. There's more, Kate said. The doctor called yesterday. Thomas felt his pulse quicken. What did they say? William's voice was suddenly urgent. I've been exhausted for weeks. You know that? I thought it was just stress. The schedule. The constant traveling. Kate paused. But it's not. Thomas heard footsteps. Fast. Then William's voice, closer to Kate now. Are you sick? Kate, tell me what's wrong. I'm not sick, Kate said quickly. I'm pregnant. The world seemed to stop. Thomas forgot to breathe. He forgot where he was. He forgot everything except those two words hanging in the air. Your William couldn't finish the sentence. 10 weeks, Kate said. I found out 3 weeks ago. I wanted to tell you, but every time I tried, there was another engagement. Another meeting. Another obligation. And I kept thinking, what kind of world are we bringing a child into? Thomas heard something that sounded like a sob. He couldn't tell if it was Kate or William. We're bringing a child into our world, William said, his voice thick with emotion. A child who will be loved, protected, cherished. A child who will live in a cage, Kate said quietly. Just like we do. Then we change the cage. William's voice was stronger now, more determined. We make it different, better. We give them what we didn't have. How? Kate asked. How do we do that when we can't even find time for ourselves? We start tonight, William said. Right now. No more schedules. No more pretending. Just us. Just this moment. Thomas heard movement. The sound of an embrace, perhaps. Or maybe just two people finally closing the distance between them. But then Kate spoke again, and her words sent a chill down Thomas's spine. There's something else. Something the doctor said that I haven't told you yet. Attention returned, sharper than before. What else was she hiding? Asterisk, William's voice came out strained. Kate, you're scaring me. The doctor said the stress levels in my body are dangerous, Kate said. My blood pressure is too high. I'm not sleeping. I'm barely eating. She said if I don't make serious changes, I could risk the pregnancy. Thomas heard something hit the floor. A glass, maybe. Or a book. Why didn't you tell me this immediately? William's voice cracked. Why are you telling me now like this? Because I needed you to hear everything else first, Kate said. I needed you to understand that this isn't just about being tired or overwhelmed. This is about survival. Mine, ours, our child's. The silence that followed was different this time. Heavier. Thomas could feel the weight of it pressing against the walls. We're stopping everything. William said firmly. I'll cancel the tour. I'll reschedule the engagements. You can't, Kate interrupted. That's exactly the problem. We can't just cancel. We can't just step away. There are expectations, responsibilities. The moment we married, we stopped belonging to ourselves. I don't care about expectations. Yes, you do, Kate said gently. And so do I. That's why this is so hard. We care about duty, about service, about doing what's right. But what's right for everyone else is killing what's right for us. Thomas shifted again, his muscles aching from standing so still. He thought about his own life. His small apartment, his girlfriend Sarah who worked at a bookshop, their simple dinners and quiet evenings, things he'd always taken for granted. Tell me what you want, William said. Forget everything else. Forget the titles and the rules. If you could have anything right now, what would it be? Kate was quiet for a long moment. I want to take a walk, she finally said. Just a walk. Down a normal street. Without cameras. Without security. Without people recognizing us. I want to hold your hand and talk about nothing important. I want to stop for coffee. I want to be anonymous for just 1 hour. Then let's do it, William said. We can't. Yes, we can. William's voice was gaining strength. Right now, tonight, we'll slip out the back garden. Take one of the normal cars. No security. No protocol. Just us. They'll never allow it, Kate said. But there was hope in her voice now. A small spark they don't have to know. Thomas's eyes widened. Were they seriously planning to sneak out of the palace? What if something happens? Kate asked. What if we're recognized? Then we're recognized, William said. But at least we'll have tried. At least we'll have done something for ourselves, instead of always doing what's expected. Thomas heard footsteps moving toward the door. His heart raced. Should he step away? Should he pretend he hadn't been there the whole time? But the door didn't open. I'm scared, Kate whispered. So am I, William admitted. I'm scared of losing you. I'm scared of failing as a father before I even begin. I'm scared that you're right, that we've lost ourselves in all of this. But I'm more scared of doing nothing. When did we stop being a team? Kate asked. We didn't, William said. We just forgot how to show it. We got so busy performing our roles that we forgot we're supposed to be living our lives. Thomas heard movement again. Closer to the door this time. I love you, Kate said. I need you to know that. Even when I'm angry. Even when I'm lost. I love you. I love you too, William said. And I promise you're going to figure this out. We're going to find a way to be parents and partners and still be ourselves. You really want to sneak out tonight? Kate asked, and Thomas could hear the smile in her voice. I really do. What if someone sees us leave? William's next words made Thomas's blood run cold. Then we trust them to keep our secret. The door handle began to turn. Thomas had seconds to decide what to do next. Thomas snapped to attention. Eyes forward, face blank. The door opened slowly. William stepped out first, his hand still holding Kate's. They both froze when they saw Thomas standing there. For 3 long seconds, nobody moved. Thomas kept his gaze fixed on the wall ahead, every muscle in his body rigid. His training told him to remain silent, to act as if he'd heard nothing, seen nothing, but William didn't move past him. Thomas, William said quietly. It was the first time in 3 years that William had used his name. Guards were usually invisible, unnamed, just uniforms and protocol. Thomas's throat went dry. Your Royal Highness, how long have you been standing here? The question hung in the air like a blade. Thomas could lie. He could say he'd just arrived. But something in William's eyes told him the truth was already known. The full time, sir, Thomas said. His voice steady, despite his racing heart. Kate's hand moved to her stomach instinctively. A protective gesture. A mother's gesture. William studied Thomas's face for a moment. Then he did something unexpected. He smiled. Not the practiced royal smile Thomas had seen in photographs. A real one. Tired and a little broken, but real. Then you know everything, William said. I know nothing, sir, Thomas replied automatically. I heard nothing. Don't do that, William said, his voice gentle but firm. Don't pretend. Not right now. Thomas finally allowed himself to meet William's eyes. In them, he saw exhaustion, fear, hope. Everything that had poured out in the conversation he'd overheard. I won't repeat what I heard, Thomas said. You have my word. I believe you, William said. But that's not why I stopped. Kate stepped forward, still holding William's hand. Up close, Thomas could see the shadows under her eyes, the strain around her mouth, the weight she carried that cameras never captured. We need your help, Kate said softly. Thomas blinked. Ma'am, we need to leave, William explained. Just for a few hours. No security detail. No official car. No one can know. Thomas felt panic rise in his chest. Sir, I can't. We're not asking you to abandon your post, William interrupted. We're asking you to look the other way. Just this once. If something happened to you, Thomas began. Nothing will happen, Kate said. We'll take the back exit through the garden. We'll be back before midnight. We just need to breathe. to remember what it feels like to be normal people. Thomas looked between them. He thought about the rules, the protocol, the consequences if anyone found out he'd let them leave unsupervised. But he also thought about Kate's words, about disappearing, about losing yourself. "There's a service entrance near the east wing," Thomas heard himself say. "It's not monitored after 9. The garden gate key is kept in the groundskeeper's shed." William's shoulders sagged with relief. "Thank you. I'll be here when you return," Thomas continued. "If anyone asks, I'll say you wanted privacy for the evening. No visitors." Kate reached out and touched Thomas's arm. It was a simple gesture, but it broke every rule of royal protocol. "Thank you for understanding." They moved quickly down the corridor, their footsteps soft on the ancient carpet. Thomas watched them disappear around the corner, his heart pounding. He'd just helped the future king and queen of England sneak out of the palace. If anyone discovered this, he'd lose his job. Maybe worse. But as he returned to his post, standing alone in the quiet hallway, he realized he didn't regret it. The minutes crawled by. 9 o'clock came and went. Then 10. Thomas's mind raced with worry. What if they were recognized? What if something happened? What if they didn't come back? At 11:30, he heard footsteps in the corridor. William and Kate appeared, walking hand in hand. They were laughing. Actually laughing. Kate's hair was windblown, and William's jacket was buttoned wrong. But they looked more alive than Thomas had ever seen them. They stopped when they reached him.
"Thank you,"
William said simply. Thomas nodded, unable to speak. Kate's eyes were bright. "We walked along the river, had fish and chips from a food truck. Nobody recognized us. It was perfect." "I'm glad, ma'am," Thomas said. Meaning it, they continued past him toward their private quarters, still holding hands. Still smiling, Thomas thought that was the end of it. But 3 weeks later, something happened that proved him wrong. Asterisk the envelope arrived during Thomas's morning shift. A palisade approached him in the hallway, holding a cream-colored envelope with the royal seal. "This is for you," she said, her expression unreadable. Thomas's stomach dropped. This was it. Someone had found out. He was being dismissed. He waited until his break to open it, his hands shaking slightly. Inside was a handwritten note on embossed paper. "Thomas," it began. Not Guard Brennan or Mr. Brennan, just his first name. "What you did for us that night meant more than you could possibly know. You gave us a gift we can never truly repay, a few hours of being ourselves. In a world where every moment is scheduled, every word is measured, and every action is scrutinized, you gave us freedom. More importantly, you gave us each other back. That night changed everything. We talked for hours. Really talked. We remembered why we fell in love. We made promises to each other not as Duke and Duchess, but as William and Kate. As partners. As parents-to-be, we've made some decisions. We're scaling back the official schedule. We're setting boundaries. We're choosing our family first, even when it's difficult. Even when it disappoints people. You didn't just keep our secret that night. You kept our marriage alive. We wanted you to know that you'll always have a place here for as long as you want it. But we also wanted you to know something else." Thomas turned the page, his eyes blurring slightly. "We've arranged for a position to open in our private household staff. It comes with a significant raise and more reasonable hours. If you're interested, the role is yours. We trust you. Not because you kept a secret, but because you understood why we needed to have one in the first place. Whatever you decide, thank you. For your discretion, for your kindness, for treating us like people when we needed it most. With gratitude, William and Catherine." Thomas read the letter 3 times. Unable to believe what he was seeing, that evening he was summoned to a private meeting. Not in the formal drawing room where he'd overheard the conversation that started everything, but in a smaller, more intimate sitting room. Kate was there, her hand resting on her barely visible baby bump. William stood beside her, relaxed in a way Thomas had never seen during official functions. "You read the letter," William said. It wasn't a question. "Yes, sir," Thomas replied. "And?" Kate asked, a gentle smile on her face. "I don't know what to say," Thomas admitted. Say yes, William said. We need people around us who understand that we're human, who see past the titles, who remember that before we're royals, we're just two people trying to build a life together. You barely know me, Thomas said. We know enough, Kate replied. We know you chose compassion over protocol. We know you understood what we needed without us having to explain. We know you can be trusted with the things that matter most. Thomas thought about his simple life, his small apartment, his girlfriend Sarah. Then he thought about what he'd witnessed that night in the hallway. Two people finding their way back to each other. Two people fighting for their love against impossible odds. I accept, he said. It would be an honor. Kate's smile widened. There's one more thing. She glanced at William, who nodded encouragingly. When the baby comes, Kate said, her voice soft with emotion, we're going to do things differently. We're going to protect their privacy, give them as normal a childhood as possible. And we're going to need people around us who believe in that vision. People who will help us shield them from the pressures we've faced. I understand, Thomas said. We're not just hiring a staff member, William added. We're building a team. People who will help us create the kind of home we want our children to grow up in. A place where they can be themselves before they have to be anything else. Thomas felt emotion rising in his chest. He'd spent 3 years being invisible, being a uniform instead of a person. And now he was being invited into something profound. Something real. I won't let you down, he said. We know, Kate said simply. Over the next few months, Thomas watched as William and Kate kept their promises. They pushed back against schedules. They took private time. They created boundaries. Asterisk. It wasn't easy. There were critics. There were headlines questioning their commitment. There were people who didn't understand why they couldn't just follow tradition. But Thomas saw what the cameras didn't capture. He saw William reading bedtime stories to Kate's growing belly. He saw Kate laughing freely during private dinners. He saw them dancing in the kitchen when they thought no one was watching. He saw them choose each other over and over again. And when their first child was born, Thomas was there not as a guard, but as someone they trusted. Someone who had witnessed their struggle and kept their secret. But the story doesn't end there. Because what Thomas didn't know was that his single act of kindness would ripple far beyond that one night. Asterisk 5 years later. Thomas stood in the same corridor where everything had changed. But now he wore different clothes. A simple suit instead of a uniform. He was no longer a guard. He was part of the family's private household, trusted, valued, seen. The palace had changed too. There was more laughter now. More freedom. William and Kate had 3 children. They'd managed to give them something precious, moments of normal childhood. Hidden between royal duties, Thomas had watched it all unfold. The small rebellions, the quiet revolutions. The way William and Kate slowly reshaped what it meant to be modern royals. They took their children on normal outings, parks, museums, ice cream shops. They protected bedtimes and family dinners. They said no to events that would steal too much time from their family. It wasn't perfect. There were still obligations, still pressures, still cameras. But there was also love. Visible, undeniable love. One evening, Kate found Thomas in the hallway, the same hallway where he'd once stood guard, listening to her heart break. Do you remember that night? She asked softly. Every detail, Thomas said. I think about it often, Kate admitted. How close we came to losing everything. How one conversation, one decision, one moment of honesty changed the trajectory of our entire lives. You would have found your way, Thomas said. Maybe, Kate said, but you helped us get there faster. You gave us permission to be human when we'd forgotten how. Looking out the window at the garden where she and William had slipped away that night 5 years ago. We're going to do it again tonight, she said with a small smile. Sneak out. Take a walk. Have fish and chips. It's become our tradition. Our reminder. A reminder of what? Thomas asked, though he thought he knew. That we're William and Kate before we're anything else, she said. That love is a choice we have to keep making every single day. that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is ask for what you need. She turned to face him fully. You know what the best part is? Kate said, her eyes bright. Our children see it. They see us choose each other. They see us fight for our family. They see us set boundaries. And someday, when they face their own impossible choices, I hope they remember that they're allowed to be human too. Thomas felt his throat tighten. That's a beautiful legacy. It's the only one that matters, Kate said. Not the titles, not the history books, but the love we protected, the family we built, the example we set. She reached out and squeezed his hand, that same gesture she'd made 5 years ago, breaking protocol, treating him like a person instead of a servant. Thank you for seeing us, she said, for really seeing us when we needed it most. Before Thomas could respond, the sound of children's laughter echoed through the hallway. 2 small figures came running, followed by William carrying the youngest. The oldest called out, "Daddy says we can have extra story time tonight." Kate's face transformed with joy. Does he now? William grinned, looking younger than he had in years. I figured we could make an exception. It's a special night. Every night with you is special, Kate said. And the look they shared was so full of love that Thomas had to glance away. This was what he'd protected that night. Not just a secret. Not just a royal marriage. But this, the laughter, the love, the family that had fought to stay human in an inhuman world. As William and Kate gathered their children and headed toward their private quarters, Kate glanced back at Thomas one more time. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. The gratitude was written in every moment of happiness she'd found since that desperate night in the drawing room. Thomas returned to his duties, but his mind wandered to his own life, to Sarah, who was now his wife, to their small house outside the palace grounds, to their own children, who were growing up knowing their father worked for people who valued family above everything. He thought about the guard. He'd been 5 years agridged, invisible, following every rule without question. And he thought about the conversation that had changed everything. Not just for William and Kate, but for him too. Because that night, he'd learned something profound. Sometimes the most important thing you can do is give people permission to be human, to struggle, to need help, to be imperfect. Years from now, when the children were grown and the story was told, people would talk about William and Kate's love, about how they modernized the monarchy, about how they put family first, but Thomas would know the truth. He'd know about the night in the hallway, the desperate conversation, the secret walk by the river, the moment when 2 people remembered why they'd fallen in love. He'd know that the greatest changes often start with the smallest acts of kindness, and he'd know that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply listen and then look the other way at exactly the right moment. The palace grew quiet as evening settled in. Thomas completed his final rounds, checking windows and doors out of habit more than necessity as he passed the drawing room. That room where it all began, he paused for just a moment. Through the window, he could see William and Kate in the garden, walking hand in hand just like they had that night 5 years ago. Still choosing each other, still fighting for their love, still human despite everything trying to make them. Otherwise, Thomas smiled and continued down the hallway. Some secrets are worth keeping. Some moments are worth protecting. And some love stories are worth believing in. This was all 3.